Lovely viewers. Just hours ago, reports started surfacing about an incident that allegedly took place behind closed doors at what was supposed to be a routine industry meeting. An argument between Hye Kyo and Lee Min-ho that reportedly became so heated, so emotionally charged, that it left one of Korea's most beloved actresses in tears. The details are still emerging, the accounts are sometimes conflicting, but what seems clear is that something significant happened, something that has pulled back the curtain on whatever has been brewing between these two stars, and lovely viewers, we need to talk about all of it with the seriousness and sensitivity this situation demands. Let me start by laying out what we actually know versus what's being speculated, because in situations like this, that distinction becomes blurry incredibly fast and we need to maintain clarity about where information is coming from. According to multiple reports from entertainment news outlets in Korea, outlets with generally reliable track records, Hye Kyo and Lee Min-ho were both present at a private meeting yesterday afternoon. The nature of this meeting has been described variously as a script reading for a potential collaborative project, a discussion about upcoming promotional obligations, or a mediation session arranged by their respective agencies. The specifics remain unclear and may never be fully disclosed, but what matters is that they were both there, in a private setting away from public view, and something went very wrong. The first reports started appearing on Korean entertainment news sites late last night, citing unnamed sources who claimed to have been present at or near this meeting. These sources described raised voices, emotional confrontation, and ultimately Hye Kyo leaving the meeting visibly distraught, with tears streaming down her face. One account mentioned her being escorted by her manager to a waiting car. Another described her needing several minutes to compose herself before she could leave the building. The details vary slightly between reports, which is actually somewhat reassuring. It suggests multiple independent sources rather than everyone repeating a single potentially unreliable account. Lee Min-ho's state during and after this alleged argument has been described differently across various reports. Some claim he also appeared upset, running his hands through his hair in frustration. His usual composed demeanor cracked in a way colleagues rarely witness. Others suggest he seemed angry more than sad, that his body language conveyed frustration and perhaps even resentment. Still others paint him as attempting to remain calm, trying to de-escalate whatever was happening, only to be met with such emotion from Hye Kyo that the situation spiraled beyond his control. The inconsistency in these descriptions tells us something important. Either people are seeing what they expect to see based on their own biases, or the situation was complex enough that different observers came away with genuinely different impressions. What allegedly sparked this argument is where things get even murkier and where we need to be extremely careful about repeating unverified claims as fact. Some reports suggest the confrontation was about their relationship, past, present, or the complicated space in between. According to these accounts, unresolved feelings, betrayals real or perceived, and the pressure of constant public speculation finally boiled over into an argument that had probably been brewing for months or even years. The tears, in this interpretation, represented the release of pent-up emotion, the pain of whatever had transpired between them privately finally finding expression. Other reports frame the argument as professional rather than personal. These accounts claim that Hye Kyo and Lee Min-ho were discussing a potential project, possibly being pressured by studios or agencies to work together because of their star power and the public interest in their dynamic, and that one or both of them strongly objected. The argument in this version stemmed from Hye Kyo feeling cornered into a professional situation she didn't want, with Lee Min-ho either defending the project or perhaps sharing her concerns but being unable to help, leading to frustration on both sides. The tears would then represent professional stress, feeling trapped by industry obligations, and the difficulty of maintaining autonomy when you're at their level of fame. A third category of reports suggests the argument was about boundaries and privacy. According to these accounts, the confrontation centered on how they navigate their public images, with one blaming the other for fueling speculation through ambiguous statements or actions, or perhaps disagreeing about whether and how to address the rumors that have plagued them both. Hye Kyo's tears in this interpretation might reflect exhaustion with the entire situation. Tired of speculation, tired of having to coordinate her public appearances and statements with consideration for someone else's feelings and reputation, tired of the impossible position they've both been put in by relentless media attention. Lovely viewers, Here's what troubles me about all of these reports, and I want you to think critically about this with me. Every single account comes from unnamed sources. Not one person has gone on record with their name attached to these claims. Now, that's not unusual in entertainment reporting. People fear professional repercussions for sharing information about private meetings, and protecting sources is legitimate journalism. But it also means we're building our understanding on a foundation that we cannot verify. These could be completely accurate accounts from people who were genuinely present. They could also be exaggerated versions of something much milder, or even completely fabricated by people trying to get attention or clicks. The imagery of Hye Kyo in tears is particularly powerful and worth examining. She's known for her composure, her grace under pressure, her ability to maintain dignity even in difficult situations. For someone with that reputation to be reduced to tears in a professional setting suggests either extraordinary circumstances or an uncharacteristic loss of emotional control. Both possibilities are significant. If the circumstances were that extraordinary, if whatever was said or revealed in that meeting was genuinely devastating, then we're talking about something serious happening between her and Lee Min-ho. If instead this represents an unusual breakdown for someone who typically maintains such control, that suggests accumulated stress and pressure finally overwhelming her usual coping mechanisms. What's being lost in a lot of the coverage and fan reaction is consideration for what Hye Kyo might be experiencing right now. Imagine having what was presumably a private, difficult moment, whether an argument, an emotional breakdown, or both, immediately become public knowledge. Imagine knowing that millions of people are now discussing your tears, speculating about what caused them, debating whether you were justified in your emotions or overreacting. Imagine the vulnerability and violation of having your lowest moment, when you weren't in control of your emotions, turned into content for mass consumption. That's what's happening to her right now, and lovely viewers, that should give us all pause. The same applies to Lee Min-ho, though the reports about him are less focused on vulnerability and more on his role in the argument. If he said or did something that contributed to Hye Kyo's distress, he's now being judged by millions of people who don't know the full context, who weren't there, who can't possibly understand the complete picture. If he was trying to help or stay neutral and the situation escalated anyway, he's dealing with being cast as a villain in a narrative he may not recognize. And if the entire story is exaggerated or false, both he and Hye Kyo are dealing with public fallout from something that didn't happen or didn't happen the way it's being portrayed. The fan reactions have been absolutely intense and reveal just how invested people are in these two and their relationship, whatever its nature. Social media is flooded with emotional responses. Team Hye Kyo hashtags are trending with people expressing support for her, anger at whatever made her cry, and demands that Lee Min-ho apologize or explain himself. Simultaneously, there are defenders of Lee Min-ho pushing back against the rush to judgment, pointing out that we don't know his side of the story, that arguments involve two people and assigning blame to one without full information is unfair. The discourse has become tribal in that way online conversations often do. Pick a side, defend your choice, attack the opposition. But there's also a third category of response that I find more thoughtful and worth amplifying. These are the voices saying that regardless of what happened, both Hye Kyo and Lee Min-ho deserve privacy to work through whatever is going on between them. These fans are expressing concern for both parties, acknowledging that arguments happen between people who care about each other, that tears don't necessarily indicate villainy on anyone's part, and that the healthiest thing we can do is give them space rather than demanding explanations or taking sides based on incomplete information. What makes this situation particularly fraught is the gender dynamics at play in how it's being covered and discussed. There's a tendency in media coverage to focus on Hye Kyo's emotional response, the tears, the distress, the vulnerability, in ways that can inadvertently diminish her or paint her as fragile. Meanwhile, Lee Min-ho's role gets framed in terms of action and agency. What did he say? What did he do? What was his responsibility in this situation? These are subtle patterns, but they reflect broader issues with how we talk about men and women in conflict, how we assign emotional labor and blame, how we interpret the same behaviors differently based on gender. Hye Kyo crying doesn't make her weak. It might make her human, exhausted, overwhelmed, or justifiably upset depending on circumstances we don't know. Tears are a legitimate emotional response to difficult situations, not a character flaw or a sign of instability. Similarly, if Lee Min-ho was angry or frustrated during this argument, that's also a valid human emotion that doesn't automatically make him aggressive or unreasonable. We need to be careful about the stories we tell ourselves about what emotions mean and who gets to express them without judgment. The timing of this alleged incident is worth noting. It comes on the heels of weeks of speculation about their relationship, the tension at the awards show that we discussed previously, the rumors about relationship troubles and potential divorce. Everything has been building toward some kind of breaking point, and if these reports are accurate, this argument might represent that breaking point, the moment when whatever has been simmering beneath the surface finally erupted in a way that couldn't be contained or managed privately. Industry insiders. And I want to be clear that I mean people I've spoken with who work in Korean entertainment and have general knowledge of how these situations typically unfold, not people claiming to have specific information about this incident. Have noted that when private conflicts become public this way, it often indicates that internal management has failed. Agencies typically work very hard to keep their talents' personal issues out of the press, to mediate conflicts before they escalate, to maintain the carefully crafted public images that are so important in Korean entertainment culture. For something like this to leak suggests either that too many people witnessed it to contain, or that someone involved wanted it public for strategic reasons. That second possibility is worth considering even though it feels cynical. Could someone benefit from this story being out there? Could there be professional or personal motivations for ensuring that news of this argument reached the public? Without more information, these remain questions rather than accusations, but they're questions worth asking as we try to understand how and why this private moment became public knowledge. The broader context includes not just the recent tension between Hye Kyo and Lee Min-ho, but also the intense pressure both of them are under professionally. Both have major projects in various stages of development. Both have enormous endorsement portfolios that depend on maintaining certain public images. Both are at career stages where choices matter enormously. The roles they take, the people they associate with, the way they navigate public and private life. Professional stress, personal complications, and relentless public scrutiny create a pressure cooker environment where arguments and emotional breakdowns become more likely. What happens next is the question on everyone's mind, lovely viewers. Will either Hye Kyo or Lee Min-ho address this publicly? Their agencies have so far released standard no-comment statements, which is typical initial response but tells us nothing about whether more substantive statements might be coming. Will this incident affect their upcoming projects, their public appearances, their ability to navigate the industry events where they might encounter each other? Will it finally force some kind of public clarification about their relationship, past, present, or non-existent, that they've both avoided providing until now? There's also the question of what this means for their well-being. If Hye Kyo was genuinely that distressed, is she getting the support she needs? Does she have people around her who prioritize her mental and emotional health over her commercial value? Is she being given space to process whatever happened, or is she being pushed to maintain appearances and continue working as if nothing occurred? The same questions apply to Lee Min-ho. Is anyone checking on how he's handling this, or is the assumption that as a man, he should just tough it out and move forward? The mental health implications of celebrity culture are something we don't talk about enough, lovely viewers. The pressure to maintain perfect public images, to handle private pain without showing cracks, to perform normalcy and happiness even when struggling. These demands take genuine tolls on mental health. We've seen tragic examples in Korean entertainment of what happens when that pressure becomes unbearable and when people don't get the support they need. While I'm certainly not suggesting the situation rises to that level of crisis, it's a reminder that the people we admire on screen are dealing with real stress and real challenges that their fame often makes harder rather than easier to navigate. Let me address something I'm seeing repeatedly in the comments already. Multiple people are asking whether this confirms that Hye Kyo and Lee Min-ho were or are in a romantic relationship, arguing that you don't have arguments this emotional with someone you're not intimately connected to. That's an understandable interpretation, but it's not the only one. Emotional arguments can happen between friends who feel betrayed, colleagues who are being forced into uncomfortable professional situations, or even acquaintances who have become symbols for each other of larger frustrations and pressures. Yes, the emotional intensity might suggest intimate connection, but it could also suggest accumulated stress finally finding an outlet. The other question dominating comments is about taking sides. Who was right, who was wrong, who owes whom an apology? Lovely viewers, we simply don't have enough information to make those judgments responsibly. Arguments are complex. They have context, history, nuances that can't be captured in second-hand reports from unnamed sources. Both people in an argument usually have some valid points and some unreasonable moments. The idea that we can or should determine who is right, based on the limited information available, is presumptuous and potentially harmful to both parties. What we can do is extend compassion to both of them. Whatever happened in that meeting, it clearly involved genuine distress for at least one person and presumably wasn't pleasant for the other either. Both Hye Kyo and Lee Min-ho are navigating something difficult, and they're doing it under the microscope of public attention that most of us will never experience. They deserve the grace to work through their issues, personal, professional, or both, without millions of people demanding explanations or assigning blame. The media's role in this situation also deserves scrutiny. The reports about Hye Kyo's tears are being presented with varying degrees of sensitivity. Some outlets have framed it as concerning news about a beloved actress going through difficulty, expressing appropriate care for her well-being. Others have sensationalized it, using dramatic headlines and framing that treats her distress as entertainment rather than a serious matter. That difference in approach matters because it shapes how audiences engage with the information and how much additional pressure gets placed on everyone involved. There's something particularly troubling about the detailed descriptions of Hye Kyo's tears. What she looked like, how she tried to compose herself, how she was escorted away. Those details feel invasive, like we're being given access to a moment of vulnerability that should have remained private. Even if the broader fact of an argument becomes public, do we need to know the specific mechanics of her emotional breakdown? Does that level of detail serve any purpose beyond satisfying prurient curiosity? As this story continues to develop, and it will develop because situations like this never simply end with the initial reports, we need to commit to engaging with it responsibly. That means being skeptical of claims that can't be verified, resisting the urge to turn complex human situations into simplistic narratives of heroes and villains, and remembering that our consumption of this content has real impacts on real people's lives. Lovely viewers, I want to hear from you about how you're processing all of this. Are you inclined to believe these reports, or are you skeptical? How do you balance your curiosity about celebrities' lives with respect for their privacy? If you were in Hye Kyo's or Lee Min-ho's position, how would you want fans and media to respond? Drop your thoughts in the comments because these conversations help all of us think more carefully about how we engage with entertainment news. If you found this analysis helpful, if it gave you a framework for thinking about this situation with more nuance and compassion, please hit that like button. It helps this content reach people who want thoughtful coverage rather than just gossip. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on because as more information emerges about this situation, we'll be here to discuss it with the care and depth it deserves. Share this video with friends who are talking about Hye Kyo and Lee Min-ho. The more we can create space for thoughtful, compassionate conversation about celebrity news, the healthier the discourse becomes for everyone. And remember, lovely viewers, behind every headline is a human being dealing with challenges we might not fully understand. Let's discuss, analyze, even speculate, but let's do it with empathy. Until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and remember that everyone, celebrities included, deserves compassion as they navigate difficult moments. Thanks for being part of this community. Your engagement and thoughtfulness make these conversations meaningful. See you in the next video, lovely viewers.